What is going on, everybody? It is episode 415 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. I am decidedly not going to be using my hands today on camera. Anyway, we have got a guest with us in the studio. Hi, Phil.
Hi, everybody. My name is Phil Abonte. I'm the lead singer of All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary.
And we're glad you're back.
Thank you.
Yes. How was the trip?
It was wonderful.
Get a lot of stuff done?
Yeah, we didn't get a lot done, but we got what we wanted to get done. I saw a significant number of homeless people. Had wonderful, wonderful Egg Tuck, which is a place in Hollywood that's makes great egg sandwiches. Probably had it like 5 times.
That's where Erewhon is, right? Is it in Hollywood?
Erewhon?
Yeah, it's where you get the really expensive drinks.
No
It's
idea.
like $100 juice and stuff like that.
I would
That's
never.
where like most bars are headed, though. Like I've seen a lot of people complaining like a normal cocktail just costs you like $40.
No, these
Very
are
glad
like
that I don't
juice
drink
drinks.
anymore.
These are like juice drinks that you buy like in the middle of the afternoon.
It's just a random like smoothie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, $100.
I don't remember the name of it. We did go to a smoothie place that was fairly bougie, but I just thought it was kind of LA, and it wasn't like particularly, it wasn't noticeably expensive. And also, like when you're in the studio, they have a runner they're just like, there's multiple runners on the property that are there just to do running for different studios. So each individual studio has at least one runner. And so we're just like, go get us this, go get us smoothies, go get us these symbols. We need this from SIR, all that kind of stuff.
There is a movie to be made about like a record label runner, like a studio runner.
I think that would be kind of fun.
Like it's kind of in the same vein because I pitched the idea that when The Flash was coming out, they were talking about how Tom Cruise gave the movie his big thumbs up, and they're explaining like, look, celebrities of his stature, they get copies of these films delivered to their houses to watch in their home theaters. And like, it's got to be a guy. So a guy who works for Warner Brothers, it's his job to take that, bring it to Tom Cruise, and he doesn't leave. He has to stay there while Tom Cruise watches it. There's a movie to be made about a guy who just his whole life has been spent watching movies with movie stars to make sure that they don't like burn a copy of it. Like there's movies to be made there. See if they would do that rather than making sequel 9,000 of whatever they're making.
That's actually a really good idea for a movie. It was a terrible idea to go ahead and talk about it on the internet.
We've got a super chat from Ryan. He said, Brett, I will literally take you to Erewhon with the amount of times you mention it. Gonna get some for Luke tonight.
There you go. See, I've mentioned it before. I've never been there. I just know that people go there, and it's expensive.
Where is it?
Luke's been there?
I have no idea if Luke has been there.
I think he
LA?
would like $100 smoothies.
Where is it, in Hollywood?
Must be in Hollywood. I just know it's an LA thing. It's just for me, as somebody who doesn't spend large amounts of money on stuff like that, I can't imagine ever wanting to go there. But I imagine the people you meet there are extremely pretentious, right? Extremely pretentious.
LA, everybody's pretentious.
No, that's a fair point, right? We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to talk about anti-white racism in Hollywood casting because Elon Musk has come out. He supported a statement made by Matt Walsh, of all people, who I didn't know consumed any pop culture at all. I thought Matt Walsh was just filtered his entire life through politics, but he talks about how the casting of Snow White is anti-white racism and it's an attack on white people. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to get into a little bit about a member of the dwarf community who has pushed back on the Paramount film Wonka, which has casted Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa, and he's like, look, you're taking our gerbs. They're literally taking our jobs, right? So we're going to talk about those together.
Gerbs.
Yeah, they are. They're that and AI. They're taking everyone's gerbs.
Yep.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a class action lawsuit that has been filed or is going to be filed against Maddie Healy in the 1975 after the PR stunt that he pulled in Malaysia where he made out with his bassist in a country that doesn't allow that and then proceeded to then rail against the governmental policies and globalism goes boom. It's not going to work. So we're going to talk about that because 5 vendors and 5 artists have joined on with this lawyer who's looking to sue them for lost earnings from the event that got canceled because of this. We're also going to talk about Ice Cube, who went on a ride-along in a studio tour with Tucker Carlson, and they just had the time of their lives, it seems, talking about stuff. So we're gonna get into that. I really enjoyed this.
Did he have to use the AK, though?
Yes, you have to. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that. And Ariana Grande is officially a homewrecker, is she not?
Yeah. Her new boyfriend recently filed for divorce as of yesterday. And the wife, the now ex-wife, has come out to the media and said that her family was just collateral damage.
This girl is just, they're both pieces of crap. Okay?
They are. And also this guy literally played SpongeBob on Broadway. Could you pick a worse option?
Look up a picture
There's
of
a
Ethan's.
$20.
There's a $20 one there from Fresh Meat 999.
He said, "I heard you like Mudkips. Phil, have you heard of the Black Veil Brides? I just recently got introduced to them and have been hooked since. Also, just started dabbling in ATR and liking it so far. Happy Friday, Brett."
Yes, I have heard of them. Cheers for checking out all the Remain stuff, man. I appreciate it.
There you go.
Checking out Black Veil Brides for the first time in 2023 is funny to me.
They've been around a while. I mean, we've been around since, our first release was in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, I was in high school.
Yeah.
Mary was not in high
alive.
school.
I was in diapers.
I feel older every day, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about it because here's the thing about the Ariana Grande situation. A lot of these stories, they tend to have a dividing line that unfortunately makes identity politics a factor. In this story, you can hate everyone. The men are bad, the women are bad, everyone's bad, and that's a good thing here. It's going to bring us together by their stupidity. By the way, he looks like ugly Tom Holland if he had Mark Zuckerberg's like Borg-like eyes, like his alien eyes. So if you look up a picture of Ethan Slater, that's what he looks like. He's ugly Tom Holland with Zuckerberg eyes. It's creepy.
He just looks like a guy that was like everyone thought was closeted in high school theater, but then he ends up being straight. It's like, whoa.
You're in theater and
You
you're
get
straight.
whiplash.
That's weird.
Yeah, you never know. Was it, or there's, what's that video about the guy? No, you guys wouldn't see. It's like this show where this guy is like, everyone just assumed I was gay, and then like the guy just cleans up with the women because they just.
It's like Ryan Seacrest. Like
yeah.
Britney Spears was fully convinced Ryan Seacrest was gay, and then she realized one day he has a wife. James Corden too.
How old is Ryan Seacrest? He's gonna be in his 50s now.
Yeah.
50s.
Are we talking about Barbie today?
No.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about Barbie?
Kind of.
You want to talk about Barbie?
Only because someone in
Why?
the chat, because I saw someone in the chat doesn't want to talk about Barbie. It's
Doll.
We are beyond
Hilarious.
done talking about Barbie.
Okay.
Like everything that there is to be talked about has been talked about.
Drag.
It's not technically true because, in fact, we'll just use that as a way to get right into it. Mattel, after the success of
Yes.
Barbie. Actually, I'll wait. Okay, guys, hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. Thank you very much for that. Remember, as we've shown you, all Super Chats $20 and over. We will interrupt the discussion. We will read your questions, concerns, and statements right then and there. As soon as we're done, we will get right back on discussion. So let's just get into this right away, since it is the only piece of news that tangentially relates to that. Mattel, after the success of Barbie, they're moving on to other such properties, such as Uno cards and the Magic 8 Ball for movies. I also heard Polly Pocket.
Polly Pocket makes sense, right? Because she had her own version of the Barbie land universe. No one cares enough about Uno or a Magic 8 Ball to make a whole movie based on it.
I think there's a dark like horror comedy to be made about
With
the
the Magic
8 Ball.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, but I didn't want to say it.
Where like everything you do, it gives you the wrong answer, and then something bad happens every time you ask the 8 Ball for advice.
I mean, I was banned from ever like using Magic 8 Balls when I was a kid because it was technically like
evil.
a form of fortune telling, which is forbidden in Christianity.
Spirits.
So it could be used in a horror movie.
And you've got your own. I mean, they already make stuff based on Ouija boards, and we all know.
Yeah,
Ouija boards, right? So they could do this. It's gonna be great. Everyone's gonna watch it. Spoiler alert, I can give you the evidence right now. It's not going to have the same level of success because it doesn't have even close to the same level of cultural relevance. As important as the Magic 8 Ball was, nobody identifies with the Magic 8 Ball.
I want to see a movie. I want to see Pet Rock the movie where the Rock, like 2.5 hours of just sitting there on a table looking at the Pet Rock.
I'm kind of down with that. Or maybe, what were
They already
Chia
made
Pet, a Chia Pet movie.
Yeah.
They made the Paddington movies. They did well.
There you go. We can do that.
There should be a Magic 8 Ball that just gives you like leftist pedagogies.
Like what?
You shake it and then it says like, that sounds a little problematic.
Oh, sounds sus to me. Trans women are women. Yeah, all those. Also, guys, I didn't put this on the list earlier. They're apparently going to be developing a Dark Souls anime at Netflix. So
Okay.
womp, 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 because it's going to be at Netflix, which means it's not going to be good. Castlevania, notwithstanding, they
It
don't
was
have the greatest track
the
record.
live action Death Note that everyone hated, right? At
Yes.
Netflix.
Yeah.
I heard bad things about that.
Everybody hates everything Netflix makes because the idea of a Netflix adaptation is kind of a meme by now, right? If
Well,
Netflix-
also, like,
Cowboy Bebop.
If
they
you're
hate
trying
it.
to appeal to anime fans, you would make an anime, right?
Yeah.
Not a live action series.
Oh no, this is
No,
this is
not necessarily.
This is
an anime.
appealing to. I know, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about the Death Note thing.
Yes.
Like, if you're trying to use that IP to have a built-in audience that likes anime, would you not just make an anime based on it?
They're not going to do it. They're not. Gonna
And
do
this
it
is
justice.
bringing in people who are like gamers that are into Dark Souls. Are they into anime?
Yeah,
necessarily?
probably. Yeah, but the problem here is like it's not gonna work, man. It's Netflix. I don't even know what studio would be able to pull this off. I don't know if anybody in the chat has an idea of who would be the studio that could pull this off, but it's not Netflix.
Can they please just stop piggybacking off of IPs
They will not. It's gonna go on
for
forever.
like 2 seconds?
No.
It's I mean it kind of runs perfectly in line with corporate structure, right? Like why constantly have to look for new stories when you can just farm content for old stories that you have to keep buying again. It's kind of like all the things that are going on right now, everything that we're going to talk about with there was the story about the actress who played Yennefer in The Witcher, how they're like we hired her to challenge beauty standards, which sounds a lot like you're saying she's
What?
ugly.
Yeah, yeah.
But
She's literally attractive, and the whole point was that.
but they're saying she's not white. She's to
What?
them, they're saying that because she's not white, you're
and they're
challenging-
implying that people who aren't white can't be beautiful.
Yes, that's
what
what
it
they're
sounds like.
implying.
But the
It's
point is,
always
it's
what they're
right.
implying.
It
They're
come-
white supremacists.
It comes back to diversity, and at the Hollywood level, at the studio level, it's all about expanding audience, right? Yes, it's got a lot to do with DEI.
Also,
it's got a lot
she's-
to do with ideology. But
I
you're
definitely
always
would have
looking for
assumed
the-
she was white.
I don't believe she's white.
I thought
believe
that
she's
she was
Middle
white
Eastern.
when I watched it.
But like the idea is that they're always looking for the phantom new audience that's not actually
Yeah,
there
it doesn't
because
exist.
it's not real. It's not a real thing. So, all right,
It's just,
guys.
it says a lot about their mindset that they're constantly looking for diversity points. They look for, how can we find people that like, something is wrong with them?
Yeah.
I know, people who aren't white. Like, what?
They're not good people.
Excuse
the people
me.
who make that stuff. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the professional girlfriend, ladies and gentlemen. 3,000 boyfriends this lady has. She makes $40,000 a month.
She makes custom videos.
Jenna Madison is her name. She's 30. She also has a real boyfriend in the real world.
I mean, like,
I feel sorry for that guy
there are like,
and for
I
all
don't-
of her paying customers.
yeah, I don't get that, man.
It seems extremely demoralizing to commit to something like
She
that.
has about 3,000 boyfriends, but only 124,000 followers.
Well, that's
kinda
in line.
crazy.
124,000 followers on Instagram. 3,000 people are willing to pay for her services. $100 for a
Yeah,
minute.
to act like the girlfriend. Like, I don't.
Isn't it-
like, if you're not getting if you're not actually having sex with this person,
What's
what
the point?
What are you doing? Are you paying for her to nag you?
It's like they want some kind of imitation of an emotional connection, which is how these girls on OnlyFans really make their money, is the private messages.
It's fast food.
A
it's
lot of
fast
the
food
girls who have
relationships.
OnlyFans are under management agencies where they hire a bunch of probably dudes from Bangladesh to respond to their private messages and
Definitely
pretend to
not
be them.
Bangladesh. I know boobs and vagine don't come through on those Bangladesh.
I mean, whoever it is, whoever these precarity laborers are, they're men hired to message other men sexual and romantic messages.
Well, that's what Tate was doing, wasn't it?
Seems
Andrew
a
Tate
little
used to
gay.
do that. Like,
Yeah.
he had. Was he the guy?
That's
Actually
where the
sending
real
text
money is
messages?
made, because
that's
they
funnier.
Andrew Tate probably
Yeah.
sent a dude a message that said something along the lines of, "Yeah, I want to put my mouth on it."
Ryan Long has a skit like that. He goes, I'm an OnlyFans manager, and it's like he's like, my job is essentially to send dudes messages, like explicit messages all day. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Everyone should go and watch that one. But yeah, like there's also this great meme that comes out now. It says like a supportive boyfriend in 2023, and it's just a guy holding a DSLR in a backwards hat recording someone, because that is what society considers a loyal and
if you don't want to
supportive
date a girl
boyfriend.
who has
Hobbit.
an
You're
OnlyFans,
insecure.
then you're insecure and a misogynist incel.
I would never date a girl that had an OnlyFans.
Well, I guess that makes you an incel, Phil.
I'm fine with it. I don't care. Like, I mean, and that's like, there's nothing wrong with hanging out with.
You feel threatened by their success.
No. Like, there's nothing wrong with hanging out with girls. Like,
There's a $20 one there from Hobbit.
He said the gal who made Barbie is making a remake of the Chronicles of Narnia for Netflix. When are we colonizing space? I don't want to be on this planet anymore.
I don't blame you, man. Do what I do. Just watch old stuff. Just watch old stuff. Dude, there's like literally, if you go on Hulu, like depending what your genre is, right? Like I enjoy mysteries, or procedurals and dramas. So between Hulu and HBO Max, I could watch something like a new show in, just continue watching it to the end of the season and find a new show and never stop for like several years. And most of the time you don't want to do that. Most of the time you end up rewatching stuff you like anyways. Don't hurt yourself and don't allow these people to hurt you with all of this garbage. Just rewatch the old stuff. It's better.
I just know that she's going to write the White Witch to be actually
not White Witch?
Well, she's either going to race swap her, right? So she's not the White Witch, or she's going to be like an anti-hero.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. It's do you think that like with this case here, like for her, like the boyfriend, the boyfriend who said like they even pointed out they're like he has one boundary. She can't film scenes with other dudes. And like even in the article there's like a tinge of like how dare he have boundaries.
yeah, I mean yeah, men are not allowed to have boundaries at all, or else it's misogyny. Yeah. From two progressives, I know that is not the majority of women. Most women understand that everyone's going to have some kind of boundaries.
In the chat, Thomas says he's talking about Murdoch Mysteries. I'm actually not, though I do like the early seasons of that show. Yeah, like you're not, you're right. You're not allowed to have boundaries anymore because then they label you insecure.
Well, I mean, it's anything that you do is going to be bad. If you have boundaries, then you're insecure and you're controlling. If you don't, then if you encourage her to sleep with other women or whatever, then you're only doing it so you can get laid. If you encourage her to sleep with other guys, you don't want to commit to a woman. And it's the ability to problematize everything, and it ruins relationships.
Do you think this is also? I mean, there's no mention of a dad in this article.
Yeah, you mentioned that whenever these girls with OnlyFans or other spicy jobs talk about how they started out, they say, I was so worried what my mom would think about me. And then every time the mom is vaguely supportive. Yeah. Because there's no father figure around, and she's using her daughter for money. And
in this one, she even points out, she goes, she was a little bit apprehensive about it, but I was paying the bills. So, that's the way it is, right? I feel like, I just wonder what it's like for those dudes, right? Because it's like, I found an article that I sent you earlier that it wasn't for the show today, but I thought it might be something we could mention tomorrow. It said like, male virginity is like, steadily on the rise, and dudes they're just not connecting, and they're not for whatever reason. I'm not here to speculate what those reasons are. I'm just saying that like in an era where they're not connecting with anyone in the real world, they'll take anything. Yep. They'll even pay for it, and it's sad.
Well, it's weird because like with women who seem to can't like find a boyfriend or whatever. And they do exist. Like when I was on TikTok before I was unceremoniously banned, I saw a lot of girls make videos like, I'm 21, 25, or even 30, and I haven't had my first kiss yet. And then tons of girls in the comments are like, hey, I'm even older and I still haven't had my first kiss. Don't worry about yourself. Like, I'm in a way worse situation. It's countless comments of women like this. So like, but they are not subscribing to OnlyFans to have a fake boyfriend.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what the whole sex work industry. It's the vast majority of it is women catering, making content for men or servicing men or whatever. It's not like men or there's not a lot.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes, we get comments like a lot of times when these appear in like the segments. People are like, what's the loud noise for? Thank you, guys.
It is so loud.
It is loud.
It's really loud.
It's really loud.
Also, like, one unfortunate thing is that when that recent video of that girl who was like 24 came out and she said she hadn't had her first kiss, all the comments from guys were that she was lying. And it's like, we're not going to get anywhere by just saying that all of the girls in the comments are lying. They have no incentive to do so.
I don't know what the reason would be for her to do that.
It was a bunch of women who were like, I'm 28 and I haven't been kissed yet, or I'm 28 and I've never been in a relationship before.
Guys think because women control access to sex that women have like automatically had every opportunity and stuff. And there's plenty of women out there that are like, look, if a guy doesn't make a move on me, I'm not going to make the first move.
Because it's just not in their nature.
Exactly. Yeah, that's completely normal. But there's way more guys than ever that are like, fuck making the first move. You'll get in trouble that way. Yeah. So I mean, so these kind of things have an effect on both men and women.
And that's algorithmically propped up today because those stories are interesting. So those stories make it into people's timelines. They make it onto social media, and it's kind of like the stories about like what was the guy who got arrested for interfering on the subway, right?
Yeah.
And now we hear all the stories of all the people who don't want to interfere when something bad happens to someone on a subway because they don't want to go to jail, right? Is that actually what would happen to most people in that circumstances?
Look, that's more risky. Like putting a guy in a headlock on a subway is more risky than going up to a girl at a bar and speaking to her. Like,
I mean, they don't know.
And there are so many videos that spread fear porn about approaching women now, made by women that say, you know, I just viciously rejected this guy at a bar because he has no right to speak to me. I was minding my own business, blah, blah, blah. And they let that type of content, which is just rage baiting, paint their entire view of the world and the opposite sex, which they shouldn't do. And the guys who are willing to take those risks then clean up. Like they have all the options in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm saying like everyone is being in some way, shape or form algorithmically manipulated by the content you're looking at, making these problems seem worse than they are in a lot of ways, or at least preventing you from taking a risk when everybody should be willing to take a risk once in a while. So you know what? All I'm saying is don't get the online girlfriend so that
you're probably messaging a man anyway.
Like, I don't like the idea of it's like anybody who when you message has to give you like times and conditions apply. Not good. Just I don't know what the solution is, but I'd almost say loneliness is better than this.
The thing is like I don't get the whole like fake, like just making believe that it's your girlfriend and you're paying her to make believe on the internet. Like, I feel like you could, I mean, obviously maybe you can't find a connection on the internet, but I feel like, I don't know, that just seems like, why are you paying them to make believe that they're, you know? Yeah. I don't see the attraction.
Like when we were talking about Brecky Hill yesterday, I saw that when she promotes her OnlyFans on her Instagram, she captions it like it's a picture of her ass, and then she captions it, "Come talk to me," and then adds the link to her OnlyFans. That's so sinister that the marketing tactic is like, come here to my OnlyFans and I'll speak to you and we'll have a special connection, and you're like not like the other hundreds of thousands of guys who subscribe to me. That's really evil.
Yeah, it's the world we live in right now, and it's not good, but I don't see it getting better.
Any of the guys that are subscribed to an OnlyFans, period, or who have an online girlfriend or something like this, they're undateable anyway. Like no girl worth anything would want to spend their time talking to one of these losers. So just stop subscribing to OnlyFans, And you're
on your way to
You're only making things worse for yourself.
All right, let's move on, shall we? So Selena Gomez, she finally said hello to her friend who gave her a kidney, right?
Yeah.
Kidney?
She donated a kidney to Selena Gomez, and they apparently had a falling out where they unfollowed each other on social media, which is now what you do
when you don't want to be friends with someone anymore. You unfollow.
You want to throw shade
at
someone.
Selena Gomez had someone donated a kidney to Selena Gomez?
Yep. It was a friend of hers who's also like an entertainer, but she's less famous.
I didn't realize that she needed a kidney transplant.
It's a couple years ago.
Yeah. And she finally began speaking to her again and wished her a happy birthday. But I don't know, I don't know what details there were about why their friendship fell out. Maybe it was something that
she wanted the kidney back.
Maybe she had a valid reason to be mad at her kidney donor. I don't know, but it just seems sketchy.
all the way back in 2017 this happened. So, you know, it's sad, really, when you see two people. You'd think that type of thing would bond you forever in
What's
a way.
This video of Francia?
Which one? The
cringy comments.
Oh, let's find out.
How are you doing? You look great today.
Thank you. I'm okay.
Okay. What's new with you?
You know, it's crazy that I'm seeing you again because you made quite the show for me.
Did I?
You did. You made quite the show for me.
I didn't mean to do all that, but you know, it happened.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure no one means to do anything, but you know, now I'm being bullied like
What's
crazy.
new?
Wow, she's being very
that sucks.
passive aggressive right now.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Like that's not good.
No, it's not. It's not good at all. It's not fun either.
Yeah. What are like some crazy things you got? I was like reading the comments. I was like, dang, this is pretty bad.
They're pretty bad.
Okay.
I think the one that probably hurt the most was I hope someone goes up your and rips out your other kidney.
Damn.
Just don't read the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Don't read the comments.
And
it's never good.
Don't tell TMZ what the comments were bothered you the most, because then you're just going to get more of them.
Yeah, don't read the comments.
Why would you blame the kidney donor, though? I thought that everyone was bullying Selena because it makes her seem ungrateful.
No idea, man.
I just feel like if you give someone one of your organs that you need to live, you're kind of indebted to them for life.
Yeah, there was an episode of, I don't even remember the show. I think it was it was one of those Holly Hunter shows. In the show, basically, the idea is like this guy's like a junkie, and he lives in an apartment with like a guy who's he's like a political campaign manager, and they're like why are these two people living together? It doesn't seem like these two people fit. And you find out that apparently the guy who's the campaign manager needed an organ, and this guy gave it to him, and then had been like essentially leeching off him for like the last 10 to 15 years because the guy felt a certain amount of debt to this guy,
it's like,
because he helped him stay alive.
With any gift, whether it's an organ or it's just something else, you should give it to the person not expecting to get anything back. That's the point of a gift.
I mean, particularly an organ.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you're not getting that back.
In the show,
you shouldn't be giving anyone a gift and expecting them to owe you afterwards. Otherwise, it's not a gift; it's a trade-off.
Exactly. Yep. And in the show, that's actually like the character has like an arc where basically he like comes to that realization and moves on. So it's actually like there's some character growth there. But yeah. All right. If you think that artificial intelligence is going away, it's not, ladies and gentlemen. During the writers and the actors strike right now, all of the studios are very quietly putting out hundreds of thousands of dollar job offers to people who work in AI. I saw one that said $900,000 a year
for Netflix's AI product manager.
Yep.
If any of you are interested and qualified, consider applying.
It says one job for R&D Imagineer focused on generative AI is looking for someone who has the ambition to push. I love job descriptions.
I love that they use the term Imagineer.
Yeah, it's, everyone, that's Jim Henson. Ambition to push the limits of what AI tools can create and understand the difference between the voice of data and the voice of a designer. The role will collaborate with third-party studios, universities, organizations, and developers to evaluate, adopt, and integrate the latest generative AI. I can already picture your Hollywood celebrity voice being generated and just dropped into some ad campaign that they didn't ask to be a part of. I can't wait. Yeah, man. Like that's one of these contracts, $900,000. Another one, $250,000. Here's a Sony AI work closely with Sony's other business units, including Sony Interactive Entertainment. I believe that's video games, right? And Sony Music Management. The job pays a base salary of $160,000. It says ethics, it seems, isn't as lucrative as some other areas. Yeah, these people are going to be very, very mad. This isn't going away.
I mean, there's no such thing as AI tools that exist without the input of human beings and human creativity. So there is something to be said for that human creativity being rewarded.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just at this point don't have any sympathy for the people striking. So
No, of course not.
But what's funny about it to me, and this is like, look, none of these people, like, I saw a great comment the other day. It says, I struggled to look for footage of you, to some actor who was speaking out. He's like, I was struggling to find the videos of you speaking up for the coal miners. Unfortunately, no results were shown to me.
They don't
so
give
I guess
a crap about
to...
other unions.
Nope.
They're talking about labor solidarity, and they don't care about the ways that AI is threatening truck drivers.
So look, all the people that are in the actual picket lines that are essentially what amounts to the lower paid writers
and actors, the actors who are journeymen who aren't big names.
But those people are all before they went on strike, they were all getting a certain amount of money. They were getting paid to chase their dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like they wanted to, they were essentially stepping stone positions. You work here, it's not the best, money's tight, whatever. But if you are creative and you're good, you can go on to bigger and better things and make more money. And you are making what amounts to at least a salary that can keep a roof over your head and pay the bills and make sure you're not starving.
With 9 roommates if you're living in Los Angeles.
Well, I understand, but like if you're making $50,000 a year, you might need a roommate, but that can pay. It's not a good living again in California, but it can pay the bills. But like I said, you are getting paid to chase your dreams. I was in a van for 5 years and didn't get paid, like to go and chase my dreams. Like the money that I made all went back into doing stuff for the band. So like when I was out there chasing my dreams, essentially what these people are doing, like I didn't have a union that was like, hey, if you go ahead and don't play those shows, we'll make sure that next time you go on tour, you get more money. We didn't have that. We just got in a van and went. So like you guys that are on the picket line that are mad that you're not getting paid as much as you want, you're right now in the process of chasing your dreams. That's the point. I feel no sympathy for them at all because they're right now experiencing what the music industry has experienced in the past, has been experiencing for 20 years. And you know, these people are not the people that are. They're not in a position of destitution. They're just not making as much money as they want.
This is what happened at Marvel Comics, right? Like they ended up having to hire all of these young people who were willing to work in Manhattan for $40,000 a year. Well, I'm going to let you know that $40,000 a year in Manhattan won't buy you a corner to sleep on, let alone an apartment to live in, right? So a lot of it was like they hired ideologically inclined people who were willing to live 8 people to a room and be destitute because they felt that the message they were pushing was worth their miserable jobs right now. But the people in Hollywood are not going to be willing to do that. AI's not going away. Like they will not win this battle. It's too important, and they waited too long to address the concerns.
As much as like Lars Ulrich was right about Napster and streaming and stuff, like he still lost the battle. Just because he was right on principle doesn't mean he's gonna be able to beat a new technology. Yeah. And AI is going to be the same thing. Writers are not going to be able to beat this. You need to have a brand that you're selling, and that comes down to like being more like a creator on YouTube or something like that than being just someone that writes and produces and can kind of make a boatload of money behind the scenes. It's a very different. It's going to be a very different world.
They'll have to pivot.
Yeah.
They'll have to pivot.
Learn to code.
Basically, learn to code.
You know.
All right. I don't have a cringe for today, Mary. I have no cringe for today.
How on the internet is right here.
We have no cringe for today. None.
Okay.
Zero. I do have cute of the day though.
That's fine.
We can show people cute of the day today.
I feel like you're going to show cringe and be like, psych, this is cringy.
I'm not. I got no cringe today. All right. Well, that's not true. I did have one cringe, but the music was copyrighted, so it wouldn't have worked. So Sean McDonald sent this one in. He says, this is Gizmo, 6-year-old Papillion. Is that how you pronounce that? Papillion? I don't know how to pronounce this. My cat, Honey, and Casper.
Papillon.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Look at that dog.
That's a cute dog.
That's adorable. Adorable. There's a cat. Adorable.
That's a chonker right there.
It looks like a panther right there.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. And Halls and the kids sent this one in. It's very hard to get work done when the dog demands so much attention. It demands your attention. Very, very hard to get work done.
Jessica has so many animals. Like, I can't even count.
Yeah. Oh, all right. And we got one more here. This is from Deadman on Twitter. Found these 3 years ago.
Not his cat?
I don't know. Must be. The tongue. It's adorable. All right. Let's get into it then, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do this. So Elon Musk has responded on Twitter to a comment that Matt Walsh made about how they've been going back and forth about the casting in the Snow White movie, what that means for Hollywood, what that means for the industry. And he called casting white characters as someone that is not white anti-white racism. Do you
Matt
agree?
Walsh tweeted, "It's not just political correctness that prompts Hollywood to make white characters non-white. Snow White is now brown because the filmmakers view the character's whiteness as a flaw to be fixed. It's anti-white racism and should be called as such." And Elon Musk replied, "True." Elon loves just dropping replies like that instead of saying it himself.
He's the polite reply guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he could just speak out on things like that if he cares about it on his own.
Good.
Instead of just like quietly dropping a reply like that.
When it comes
and then Matt Walsh said, "You really have to appreciate the fact that a major big tech platform is run by a guy who will publicly agree with this take," which is obviously the correct take, I might add. I agree with it.
Yep.
I think it's true.
I think he's right that they do believe it. That's a problem to be, that they see it as a problem to be corrected rather than simply changing a story, right? Like, we had to watch this thing yesterday where Bryan Cranston was talking about how, like, you're not going to silence our voices with AI. I'm like, well, what about what you're doing to these stories from the 1800s when you're the way you're changing them, right? Like, you have no problem changing and speaking for someone else when it suits you. You absolutely have a problem doing that when somebody does this to what you want and what you love, right? And I saw another thing that was talking about these all of these concepts, and they were talking about how characters should be portrayed. And in it was a rather extreme take where it said, like, white characters should be portrayed as good or neutral. I said, no, characters can all be good and evil, but you have to be willing to make everybody good and bad, because that's how you actually reflect reality, right? It's not something where some group is only shown one way. That's a recipe for insincerity. It doesn't feel real to me.
Yeah, who was the Marvel actor that said he had trouble getting a villain role because they only want white actors to play villains?
Camille Nanjiani said that.
Yeah,
basically.
and then Hollywood can't come up with a coherent narrative on this because then on the other hand, you have John Leguizamo complaining about how racial minorities are stabled into just playing villains and they can never play the heroes. So, like, which one is it? Which one's true?
There might have been a time when that was somewhat kind of a bit true, but I don't actually agree with that.
No.
Like, there was just a time when it was more evenly distributed amongst people, right? Where everyone played good guys and everyone played bad guys. Now it's very suspicious who's allowed to be a good guy and who's allowed to be a bad guy.
I don't think that non-white actors were ever pigeonholed to play villains.
I mean, I think
white actors are getting pigeonholed to play villains.
Now, yes. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, in general. But also, like, look, Hollywood has for a long time done stereotypes because in a lot of ways you sometimes have to tell stories with stereotypical characters, right? That's a lot of times gang members, right? They do that with movies and television shows. But, like, if you watch The Shield was a great way of showing you Los Angeles, right? Meaning that it showed the gangs that were from Mexico, gangs that were, South Central, that were black. There was white supremacists in the show. That was real to the world we live in. Like, there was actual groups of bad guys that represented different demographics because that's the way the world actually looked at the time, right? And that felt more real. It felt more honest, but that would never be allowed to be done now because somebody from a different department, a human resources department, would have to butt in and say, we can't show that because it's what they would call a dangerous stereotype. And if that person pushes back and says, well, it's not really a stereotype, it's based on actual groups that do exist, they would either get fired, removed, or their advice would be ignored.
Racist.
They would not be allowed to do that. right? So Hollywood had a better hold of things in the early 2000s with The Wire or The Sopranos or I guess The Shield wasn't HBO, but that time period had a better understanding of how demographics worked for good guys and bad guys. In that show, in The Shield, not C. Thomas Howell, what's her name? Like, there was male characters and female characters of all different races that played good guys and bad guys. It's not that difficult to do. They just don't want to do it because it threatens the programs that they're running now.
They also view movies as higher stakes for social programming than TV shows, so maybe that's why TV shows had a more even-keeled approach in the past.
As in more cultural impact?
You mean
the movies will have more cultural impact, so they feel the need to change things and race swap and all of that stuff more so than in TV shows.
I think it's the opposite now. TV is where all that happens the most. Way more than.
Seems like Disney is really prioritizing no white Disney princesses at this moment.
Like I said, they could have gotten away with one or the other with that one, but changing the dwarves and changing the princess, it's going to fail. It's going to fail just like, Peter Pan failed.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to criticize the new Snow White for, making it into a feminist narrative where that she doesn't need to be saved by the prince, and it's easier to complain about the fact that the dwarves have been replaced by...
Everything about this new Snow White movie looks bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like the race swap part of it is just uncomfortable to talk about because people get the most sensitive about the subject compared to
Snow White
feminism or I mean, she was described as having skin white as snow. I don't think that can be interpreted in any other way. But because it's a fictional character, they say everything's on the table for that. And like this happened with Barbie, too. It's literally a miracle that a white woman got cast as Barbie. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
But they said, black people went out and supported a white Barbie, but you guys won't support a black Little Mermaid. And it's like, yeah, the difference is right there in your face. Barbie was always white. Ariel was not. Ariel was not black. You were the one that changed a narrative. Yeah. So that's why people are responding.
I don't know what you like. The other thing is like you can just make new movies and not have this problem happen at all, right? That's the easiest way to solve this problem.
They do that.
I feel like
there is a new Disney princess movie coming out of a non-white princess. I forget what it's called. It's going to be totally forgettable. But
what if it was good? That's the question they should always be asking. The question they shouldn't be asking themselves is, what if we make it and nobody goes to see it? The question they should be asking themselves is, what if we make it and it's amazing? Take the risk. Take the risk and build new franchises off of characters that haven't been seen before, and you will get far more goodwill from the audience.
I don't think the creative brain power is in the positions necessary to actually make new content that's creative and good. First of all, I think there's a lot of like hiring my friends and people that are not necessarily the most talented writers and stuff are getting jobs. As opposed to the most talented writers.
Oh, I think they know perfectly well that the good scripts exist. I think they just go with the stuff that they think that reinforces their ideological beliefs. There's plenty of good material out there that gets buried. Sound of Freedom got buried because they didn't agree with the message in it, right? There's
and they said the villain is suspiciously not white, like in the Sound of Freedom movie where it's literally based on a real person who wasn't white in the story.
Well, but not just that, but then there's plenty of creeps in that movie who are white, who do very, very bad things that everyone hates. Like
even one of Tim Ballard's allies.
Yes. Yep.
We won't go into spoilers there. But on the subject of dwarf erasure, George Coppin is a British actor with dwarfism who is now speaking out about the new Willy Wonka movie.
Thank God.
They're doing an origin story for Willy Wonka starring Timothée Chalamet, if you haven't heard already. And Hugh Grant is going to be playing one of the Oompa Loompas. And they have changed the official canon height of Oompa Loompas from 58 inches to 20 inches tall.
So he's no longer...
Because they don't want to hire dwarfs.
Yep, exactly.
So here's what George Coppin had to say. He said a lot of actors with dwarfism feel like we're being pushed out of the industry we love. A lot of people, myself included, argue that dwarves should be offered everyday roles in dramas and soaps, but we aren't getting offered those roles. One door is being closed, but they've forgotten to open the next one.
When it comes to dwarfism and stuff, I feel like there's so much that goes on in a person that has dwarfism life. I feel like it becomes distracting for most roles.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of have to write a
Yes.
role for a dwarf.
Because it's something you can't just not address it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, look, if you just throw a dwarf into like a buddy cop role,
it becomes part of the show, whether you like whether
Like
you
when
want to
Augie
admit-
in Covert Affairs is blind, they didn't just not address the fact that he's blind. It was part of a lot of the storyline.
Yeah, it has to
And
be.
They use it really, really well in there because he has a great sense of humor about it, and it becomes part of his character.
You can't have sense of humor about. You couldn't have a sense of humor about someone with dwarfism in modern Hollywood. Are you kidding me?
You wouldn't be allowed to, right? So,
What do you think you were making? Blazing Saddles?
No, they're absolutely not. It's really funny you mentioned that because that actor's not blind because they have to do flashback scenes to when he could see, Christopher Gorham, and it's a big part of his character that in the real world,
Get a really good blind actor.
that's what they would say now, right? They would or what would happen is
You got to
they
act
would,
like you can see.
in the original version of the script, if it was being done today, they would have to either not include the flashbacks, or the writer would have to knowingly include the flashbacks.
Different actor.
No. What they would do is he would have to the writer would have to say like, look, I want to be able to cast who I want in this. So even though I might not want flashbacks for this character, I'm going to have to include them anyways because it gives me an out from having to be, pigeonholed with my casting. Like that, and if people don't think that all of that thought goes into the casting process, that's a big part of the article from Bounding into Comics. Is like you don't just trip and fall into these decisions. James Gunn at one point said like, "Look, I just casted the best actor for the job" when he was talking about casting for Suicide Squad. But then when he's talking, for Guardians. But then when he was talking about Suicide Squad, he says, "Look, 95% of all superhero characters are white, so it makes sense to change some of these characters to more accurately reflect the world that we live in," which is what they always say, which makes everyone want to vomit, right? Like that's not just put a different character in there or create new ones.
If we were reflecting the world we live in, there wouldn't be superheroes in the movie.
Exactly, right?
There you go.
But I did have this thing about the Yennefer thing because I thought this was. I'll put it on screen.
There
here.
are people that
this
can
to you
shoot
in
lasers
Slack.
from their eyes.
So it says this was an EV magazine thing where it says casting director Sophie Holland says Anya I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Shalatra's casting as Yennefer in Netflix's adaptation of The Witcher was intended to challenge beauty standards. And the idea is that they're challenging the beauty standards because, according to the lady who was casting, she said people who like fantasy have a mostly white concept of beauty.
It has nothing to do with color.
It says, and then Shoe on Head says, imagine being this actress and being told you were casted to challenge beauty standards.
Yeah.
It says, so this was one of the quotes. It says, when she was talking about working with the showrunner, she says, and we work so well together. She's so open to conversations. Yennefer is described as the most beautiful woman in the world. This was a few years ago, and I'd like to think that things have changed. But when you think about people's unconscious bias, there's that phrase again, especially in the fantasy world, it felt like these worlds were predominantly white. And I remember saying, I feel like we need to challenge what people think of as the standard of beauty, and having a woman of color in this role does incredibly powerful things to the people watching.
Well, then why did they cast Henry Cavill instead of a black man?
And then so he says the casting director is basically calling an actress they cast ugly in an attempt to win a few virtue points about challenging beauty
I
standards.
mean, just say that you hate fantasy fans and think that they're racist.
Yeah, and
right?
that's what they do think, right? It says
The way that they
she's a beautiful
talked about
woman.
Rings of Power tells you everything that you need to know.
Yep. And it's funny too because this actress, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like you didn't need to make these comments at all, but you're addicted to the virtue signal. You're addicted to the articles written by a bunch of trash trade outlets writing about how you're such a good person. Like, have you ever noticed like none of these people want to be known as like a great writer? They want to be known as a great person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't ever talk about the strength of their right. I'll give Greta Gerwig this. She's kept the focus on the movie.
And people who aren't actually good people are very attached to making everyone think that they're good people.
Yeah.
So they'll do everything it takes in that pursuit of just the perception that they're good.
It's like they're just addicted to the fact that when they search their names, they're going to get a bunch of fluff piece articles that come up first about how they're challenging beauty standards. And this poor actress is over here like, I just want to work. Like, I'm not here to challenge beauty standards.
I legit thought that she was white when I watched the show anyway, so I don't know how it's challenging any Eurocentric beauty standards.
She's not challenging any beauty standards, is she? I mean,
she's beautiful.
Pretty, right?
She's beautiful.
Yeah, it would really be challenging beauty standards to cast somebody ugly in her role, but that would go against the story, which is that she went through this ritual process of getting her uterus ripped out of her body to become beautiful.
The girl that's playing Snow White, that is challenging beauty standards.
Oh, I think she
Like,
looks like Lucy Hale.
I think she's pretty.
She's pretty?
It's just that her personality is so grating. It kind of ruins
They put her
it.
in a movie with Gal Gadot.
That's true. Oh,
Like,
by the way, I
you
posted.
Can't win in a
you
way.
can't look like amazing when you are compared with Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot is just so pretty. Like, it is not like.
Her comments about Snow White were
Worse.
honestly worse.
Yeah.
She kept on interjecting and being like, she's not gonna be saved by the prince. She doesn't need to be saved by the prince.
I really think she's probably just like, it's NPC, just pre-recorded things that she's expecting to say.
Doesn't reflect her actual
interviews.
values that she lives.
I am going to put
if she even has them.
this on screen for the people who again keep telling me I'm wrong with how I pronounce her name. I posted this yesterday.
Oh, fact checking.
Fact checking.
Gal Gadot. Here's Gal.
Hello, my name is Gal Gadot. I'm obviously Israeli.
Gal Gadot.
So who is Gal Gadot?
Gal Gadot.
Gadot. Thanks to Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot. Gal. Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot.
I'm right. You're
Gadot.
wrong. Just saying. You've probably been saying
Gadoted.
Rihanna's wrong.
So many Israelis in my ears. Gadot. Gadot.
It is very hard to be the fairest of them all when Gal Gadot is there with you.
I mean, there are very few people that are prettier than Gal Gadot.
She's a very, very pretty woman. And just imagine like this lady, like, the actress playing Yennefer is just over here like, I'm not challenging. Like, what?
Yeah,
What?
Because that girl is very pretty as well. Like,
is.
I wouldn't kick her out of bed for eating crackers.
But this is the thing though. Hollywood, like when people say like, oh, they just casted the best person for the job. I'm like, they spend hundreds of millions of dollars on this movie. Do you think any decision is just like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, why not? Like, no, they agonize over decisions, especially casting. That's amongst the most important decisions.
I imagine casting is like a big deal.
It's a very big part of it because it's like there have been more like beyond just the discussion about what you look like now. Now a lot of younger actresses are finding out that like, look, I'm not getting jobs because I don't have a big enough social media following, because I don't use Twitter enough, because I don't use Instagram enough. There's a $20 one there from Crispy Leg Transport LLC.
As a black guy, she looks white to me. What is a POC anyway? I get confused by that term sometimes.
Is he talking about who is?
He's talking about
the girl who played
the actress
Yennefer.
who plays Yennefer.
Okay.
I thought she was white.
Yeah.
I was none the wiser.
What is
so.
she what is she actually supposed to be, or what are they saying?
She starts out the
What's
show
her cover story?
as a hunchback who is ugly, and then she goes through this ritual where they remove her uterus, and then she becomes the most beautiful woman in the world.
Sick.
But she can't have kids. Yeah. So it goes into her storyline that she has to be beautiful. Therefore, you're not challenging beauty standards. Her own character's highest priority is her looks.
Wait, so she is white. She's just British. Is that the thing? Are British people just not attractive?
Well, I would guess she probably has some kind of like Middle Eastern ancestry. I have no idea.
British people are not white.
They're just saying she's not pale enough. Is that what they're saying?
She's not blonde and blue eyes.
Like these people are nuts. They're bonkers.
There's a lot of crazy.
What kind of insane mental gymnastics went into casting the replacements for the dwarves in Snow White, but you chose to just have one of them be an actual dwarf?
Indian father,
hilarious.
Indian father, British mother.
Okay.
So
I mean, I had no idea.
Yeah. So say that again now. Say what you're saying again.
I'm just thinking about like the insane mental gymnastics that went through deciding to only have one of the 7 dwarves be an actual dwarf instead of just replacing them all together. Yeah. Why did you decide to just like throw one in there? Like at random.
They're like, we're not gonna get rid of you entirely, but we are gonna get rid of you a bit.
Doesn't make sense, but like you said, it shows you how much they agonized over that, especially after Peter Dinklage had his tantrum about it.
Yeah, dude. I thought they were gonna do like CGI. Like that was what people initially were saying afterwards, that it was gonna be CGI, that they weren't gonna use real people.
Sure, just give 7 less people jobs. That's fine.
Yep.
Sure.
All right, let's go to Super Chats, shall we?
Andrew Jacobs said, "Hi Mary, here's a link to Joe Pesci. Is it pronounced that?
Yes.
Right. Pesci's response to Sinead O'Connor ripping up the Pope's photo. And hi Brett.
Hello.
Okay.
I don't think we can click links in here, but thank you.
Logan Culver said, Phil, have you ever met Devin Townsend?
Yes, I've met Devin Townsend a couple times. We did Sounds of the Underground, and the Devin Townsend band did it. I think it was the Devin Townsend band. I don't remember if they were... No, it was Strapping Young Lad. Yeah, it was Strapping. And I feel like I've met him at a couple other shows. But yeah, nice guy. A little on the quiet side, but so am I. So that's not really like...
Perfect. You can be quiet together.
Yeah,
you can hang out and be quiet together.
I don't really think of you as being on the quiet side.
It's it's surprising. There a lot of people when I'm in these kind of scenarios, I manage it well. Because like I'm really, really an introverted guy. Like when I'm at home and stuff, like I'm not super like going out and schmoozing and stuff. Not at all.
Schmoozing.
So.
Love that word.
Schmoozing has a negative connotation, though. You're not going out and hanging out. Schmoozing in like insinuates that you're going out with the purpose of like
networking.
Like,
yeah, I don't do that either.
Me neither. I was actually explaining this to someone the other night. I was like, I am like, considering where I work, I'm the worst networker in the world.
Yeah.
They're like, did you meet Roseanne? I'm like, no.
I did meet Roseanne.
You got to meet Roseanne because you were on the show with her.
I was.
Michael
was here. I wanted to make sure I saw him. So.
Did you meet Roseanne? Did you meet this person? I'm like, nope. Like, because you know what it is? Like a lot of times if you go down to the green room, right? Everyone's already paired off and in conversation. It's like, which person am I going to just indignantly interrupt right now and just put myself in front of?
Like, hi. Hi, Roseanne.
I don't do that. I like
Can
sometimes.
I get a picture? No one wants to be that guy.
Sometimes I've never taken. I did interrupt to meet James Lindsay. That was like the one time that I unceremoniously just went downstairs to meet James Lindsay. That's about it, though.
I'd like to meet James in person. I've talked to him enough on Twitter and stuff. So
yeah, let's do 2 more.
Tom Bombader said, favorite cartoon. Guy shakes a magic 8-ball and asks, how do I heal a baby? The 8-ball says, just like that. If you don't laugh, don't worry, I do. Okay. Shane H. Wilder said, halfway through the Uno movie, someone plays the reverse card and the movie rewinds.
And it never ends. And it just keeps going forever. That's perfect. All right, let's hold off on the rest and we'll come back. All right, so guys, we talked on Monday about the stunt that Maddie Healy did at a concert at a festival in Malaysia. Well, that has cost him dearly, it seems, because the 1975 is facing a class action lawsuit. Are they not, Mary?
Yes, I'm so glad that he is facing his comeuppance for his stupid woke PR stunt. Because it's just so blatantly disrespectful. And there was another artist on the music festival who said, you ruined my chance at performing here because you wanted to have your little tantrum and then go back home and not face any consequences. And it was really sad because she said, this was like my performance where I was going to make a comeback and dedicate it to my mom who died in a freak accident. It's like the worst thing you could imagine. And I wanted to get your perspective on this, Phil, just because you're a musician and you've performed in a bunch of different countries, not all of which share the same values. Mm-hmm. And this was in Malaysia where he decided to make out with his bassist on stage. And they have obscenity laws there that prohibit them from doing so. And he completely threw caution to the wind and did so anyway. So here's what this lawyer said. He said that this was a deliberate, reckless act done knowing well of the consequences. My view is that the 1975 must be held responsible and accountable for the losses suffered by artists and vendors because of this festival getting canceled for the rest of its time. None of the other artists were able to perform just because of their recklessness. So Give me your perspective on this. What do you think?
Sounds to me like they got standing. I mean, I don't know what the local laws are, but I mean, if his actions made the whole venue get shut down or made the government shut the show down, you know, at the very least, it doesn't surprise me that it's a case that's going to a court. I don't know. Again, I don't know what Malaysia's, what their courts are like or what their laws are like. I don't know how their legal system works. But it wouldn't surprise me if someone tried that in the United States. Well,
it wouldn't be shut down.
Brett, I
because
sent
of the
you the video
context.
so we can show it to Phil.
Okay. Oh, please.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Malaysia. It's a Muslim.
I'm not in the fucking mood anymore.
He's like the least threatening person I've ever seen in my entire life.
Unfortunately, you don't get a set of loads of uplifting songs because I'm fucking furious. And that's not fair on you because you're not representative of your government.
So then why don't you perform for the people that paid to see the show?
Exactly.
And I'm sure a lot of you are gay and progressive.
I'm sure a lot of you are gay and progressive and cool. Okay.
I like how they're synonyms.
You know what? We can't let the kids down because they're not the government. But I've done this before. I've gone to a country where it's a fucking, I don't know what it fucking is, ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. To tell people what they can do with that and that.
It's pointing to his crotch.
And if you want to invite me here to do a show, you can fuck off.
He's got to be drunk.
He is.
Oh yeah, he literally has a bottle of wine in his hand.
Money, you can ban me, but I've done this before, and it doesn't feel good. And I'm fucked off.
Fuck yes, we love you!
Okay.
And then he makes out with his bassist.
Yeah.
Thus,
Yeah, I mean, look, if
screwing
you-
over all the rest of the acts.
If you're invited to play a show and you accept, you're accepting knowing the laws, or you should at least know the laws of the country that you're going to. That it's stupid to behave as if you are above the law in other countries. Sir Paul McCartney still can't go to Japan because he smoked weed. Like, Sir Paul McCartney smoked weed in like the 60s. They haven't been to Japan since because he broke the law. Just because Western countries have certain laws set up a certain way doesn't mean that you're in any position as a performer to go to a different country that has different laws and different cultures and then poo-poo that culture from stage and expect to be able to get away with that. That is terribly arrogant. It is horrible behavior. I would never do it. And the countries that I actually have talked smack about, I would never go to. Like, I know the countries that I would object to playing a show in. I'm not going to China.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's I'm not going there. It's there. I've said enough bad things about China.
What other countries are on that list?
I don't know that I really want to say it, but I mean, specifically single them out. But you know, if there's countries that treat their populations in an oppressive kind of way, I'm not in a hurry to go perform for them.
It's also like what he's doing is he's making a value judgment that his belief, like his opinions on a social issue, are more important than the money these people paid for a concert.
When you get on stage, you are there to perform a show. You're not going to see an All That Remains show that has happened in the past since I quit drinking, since like 2015, where I look like I'm angry with anyone at all. Because when I get on stage, I am there performing a service for the people that paid to get in. And if my ears are bad, like if the sound in my ears are bad or something's breaking, it is horribly irresponsible for me to let the audience know. They didn't come to watch me throw a temper tantrum. They didn't come to watch me act like I get into a fight with our guitar tech or whatever. They came to listen to these songs. So it's my job to get up there and play those songs to the best of my ability for the people that
might
are at the
be
show.
true for your audience, but I'm not so sure about Maddie Healy's audience, because clearly they were cheering him on, and maybe they do want to see him go on rants.
A couple of people cheered him
and
on
get
loudly.
political instead of performing his songs.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that story we covered where David Archuleta went off on his rant about LGBTQ stuff during a Christmas special, and the people in Middle America are like, "We're just here to listen to the Christmas carols. Could you just please perform the Christmas carols?"
Yeah.
And they're like, and then of course when he gets done, they get mad at him and they tell him that he's not welcome back. He's like, "Look at these bad people." And people are like, "Dude, we just want to hear Oh Come All Ye Faithful.
Yep.
Could you just perform Oh Come All Ye Faithful?"
So the official statement from the festival said, "We deeply regret to announce the remaining schedule of Good Vibes Festival planned for today and tomorrow have been canceled following the controversial conduct and remarks made by Maddie Healy of the 1975. This decision adheres to the immediate cancellation directive issued on the 22nd of July by the Ministry of Communications and Digital. The ministry has underlined its unwavering stance against any parties that challenge, ridicule, or contravene Malaysian laws." So
you have a duty to live by the rule, to play by the rules of the host country.
To hell with anyone else's opportunities at having a huge audience at this festival. Because he wanted to have his social media moment, basically. He wanted to have his soundbite that people praise him for. And it's weird because Maddie Healy has spoken so many times about not wanting to be that stereotypical liberal guy that just, says things for brownie points.
He needs to go and apologize to Rina Sawayama now on stage, and they can both virtue signal together. And you know what they could just have you know what they should do? They could just monetize this. Make a virtue signaling concert where you don't play any music. You just go up there and you virtue signal about your politics.
So I also wanted to talk about Travis Scott's concert that has just been canceled. He was planning to do a Utopia show at the Pyramids of Giza on the 28th, and it was canceled due to what they call complex production issues. They're saying that it was just too difficult to construct the set that they needed to perform this concert in the desert. Meanwhile, this is actually due to a campaign that was against him performing at the pyramids because it's against the traditions of that country. The Egyptian Musicians Syndicate did an online campaign against Travis Scott, and it says that Egypt has also increasingly opposed what it views as a rewriting of its history, finding fault with African American movements that claim cultural affiliation with the ancient Egyptian pharaohs.
Oh no!
The Musicians Syndicate, which oversees all matters relating to live or recorded music in the Arab world's most populous nation, said in a statement that Travis Scott's concert would go against our traditions. They said that it intervenes in musical performance that undermines the ancestral customs and traditions of the Egyptian people.
They said he was not Kangs.
Yeah. After examining social media content and Travis Scott's positions, they found images and documented information on the strange rituals he practices, which go against our traditions.
Imagine when this was done, he came out and he's hilarious. Like, and Cleopatra was black too.
Yeah.
It's just cringy that they're trying to blame this on production complications when clearly you weren't welcome in the country.
It's like when
you wanted to perform in for clout.
It's like when a director and a writer have like hate each other, or a director and an actor hate each other and say creative differences. We all know that that's not really why things fell apart. That's not the real reason.
Creative differences is usually we can't get along or you can't play your parts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what are the strange rituals that Travis Scott practices that they object to? Is it just that he has this like
Kwanzaa
satanic imagery that he tries to use at his concerts, like Astroworld?
That's Kwanzaa.
Must be. Do they see that? They say that about him because he had satanic injury at Rolling Loud or whatever the one.
Why would they be worried about? Why would Egypt be? Well, they're not. So they're an Islamic country, right? They're a theocracy, right? Yeah. So it's an Islamic government, but like the whole Egyptian, like the Egyptians were way before Islam, like 4,000 years or 5,000 years before Islam. How do they handle that?
Yeah.
All this comes back to is like there's a lot of hiccups and hurdles that come when globalist entertainment is a thing, right? Like
and it just smacks headlong.
Yeah, well, and it's why we're pushing more towards a more homogenous entertainment industry, because everything has to be safe for everyone, and we're constantly running into different barriers that prevent you from making the extra money that you need to get your movie into this. Oh, you want your Oppenheimer movie to come out in India, you're going to have to cover up Florence Pugh. I think they should cover
globalism really is a terrible, terrible development. Like, it really does.
And it stifles the ability to be creative.
Yeah.
It stifles any form of originality or individuality that these performers may have. At the end of the day, they all just become one sort of amorphous Borg of various types of talents.
Yeah.
That's not really all that fun or interesting.
And the sentiment from these artists, it just comes off as extremely entitled. Like, they believe that they are entitled to a stage anywhere they please. When he's like saying, you know, if you invited me to your country, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, get out then.
But you were specifically invited to perform songs, not to like have butt sex on stage.
Exactly.
So you were invited under certain parameters that you weren't aware of and don't accept, but you went anyway. Like, if you object to their values so strongly, then why did you go?
They want the money.
You want the money, and you, more importantly, want the clout from Western audiences that are going to see this clip and applaud you for, you know, standing up to the man.
But it's also funny too, because then it never seems to register in their brain how that proves that America is one of the greatest nations to ever exist, because all of the rights and freedoms that they enjoy here, that they take for granted here, they then have to worry about being trampled on in other countries. But then they talk crap about living here. They must live very miserable lives.
They're mad at existence.
There's
a lot of people that are mad at existence. The whole you know, I didn't ask to be born.
That shit's crazy.
That is crazy. And it is far more common, at least on the internet, than I am comfortable with seeing. A lot of people are like, I didn't ask to be born, so I shouldn't have to do any of the things to upkeep my body. It's like, what?
Yeah. It's a lack of gratitude.
Here's one comment about Maddie Healy. It's so narcissistic and irresponsible for them to accept an invitation with clear censorship rules attached, proceed to give attitude to a paying audience, and spewing some performative activism to an entirely different culture before jetting off without considering how his actions would negatively impact the organizers and communities. It's completely self-serving, as is all of wokeism.
Yep.
It's like what I pointed out when WWE goes to Saudi Arabia. Those normally scantily clad female wrestlers are very conspicuously covered head to toe, but they ask the women ahead of time. They're like, look, you don't have to come on this trip. You're not required to come on this trip. But if you want to get the chance to perform in front of the royal family, if you want a chance to do something that nobody else has done before, it comes with strings attached, because we have to be respectful of the country that just gave us $1 billion.
I mean, there are strings attached when you're invited into someone's home for a dinner party.
100%.
Like, it's their property. You can't do whatever you want on it.
Yep.
I don't understand that mindset. But the comments here are totally split. Like, one person said, what a brave act. I feel bad about the people of Malaysia, not the government. Way to go, 1975. You rock. And then the other one says, this could have been easily avoided, but somehow he decided to go full social justice warrior on stage. Challenging someone's culture and religion will never end well.
Is this like him trying to get back, like, with Taylor Swift? He's like, listen, babe.
He's like performing the wokeism so she comes back.
Yeah, come back to me. That's what he wants right now.
I thought that's why she liked him in the first place, is that he's like a bad boy. He doesn't repeat the leftist orthodoxies.
He's like, look, I'm both. I'm both.
He wants to have his cake and eat it too, though.
Can't do that.
And I don't respect that.
Can't do that.
Let's go to Super Chats.
Do it.
Tacti Platy said, Brett, Mighty Max movie series based on cartoon.
Dude, I'm totally that. Like, if they're gonna do a Polly Pocket movie, then they better make a Mighty Max movie as well. And that one, they can make those animated. I'm okay with that. Though there's some interesting things that could be done there, and it wouldn't be for people my age. It would be a poorly marketed product, where it seemed like no guy my age who was young enough to have, like, back in the 90s or like the late 80s, to have Mighty Max toys is now going to go to a Mighty Max movie, because you can't make a Mighty Max movie for adults. It's a really, really confusing marketing ploy.
It Is I said Dark Souls was made by Software, a Japanese gaming company.
Yeah, but it's like, but who's going to produce it here? Who's going to produce the movie that actually works, or the anime that actually works here in America? It's not going to be Netflix, because Netflix is horrible. Everyone knows that.
Mm-hmm. Disco Jensen said she's for the streets. I assume this is about the girlfriend simulator.
Yeah, professional girlfriend.
There's a guy that spent
Girlfriend
$80K
simulator.
on an online anime game. Of course, there's a guide to buy your OnlyFans.
Why?
Let's do one more. Let's move on.
Disco Jensen said dating is all jacked up in the West. It's all because people stopped listening to Motown classics.
There's
So true.
a great meme. It says like romance is dead because R&B artists don't grab the air anymore. Because back in the 90s, they would always go like this. It's what it is. It's like romance is dead, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do this. All right, let's move on, shall we? So Ice Cube did a 2-part interview with Tucker Carlson. If that sounds like a weird combination, it's actually not as weird as you think. Ice Cube and him talked about everything from, acceptance within his own community. They talked about vaccines. They talked about the housing market. They talked about everything, and it was a lot of fun. I had a great time listening to this. I will say this. Tucker Carlson is not exactly throwing the hardball questions at these people that he's interviewing.
I'm not asking him to press Ice Cube on all of his opinions or like throw hardball questions. I just don't think his questions in this interview were interesting.
They're
like,
kind of there.
It was a leading question. It was more like Tucker just saying his opinion and then phrasing it as a question.
Yes. But then here's the problem. Like, you wonder why stuff like this gets made. Ice Cube actually makes a statement. He's like, look, we don't talk to each other anymore. Like we're not talking. The size, he goes, I bet even Russia and Ukraine have people talking to each other, trying to find a way to bring the conflict to the end. But then you wonder why nobody's talking to each other anymore.
He said, when the talking stops, that's when the fighting starts. But I think when the fighting has already started and you start the talking, it doesn't stop the fighting.
Eventually, the hope would be that it does eventually. But the problem is this: like, look, within a day of this being written, the articles are coming out about his anti-vax interview with Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
The media, without missing a beat, always proves themselves to be every bit as despicable as you already imagine them to be.
You should hate the media.
And no matter how much you do,
thoroughly,
you should
and
hate them
no matter
more.
how much you hate them, you don't hate them enough.
I sent you the clip from Vigilant Fox where Ice Cube gives his answer as to why he didn't get jabbed.
Okay, here we go.
Facts. You had a direct order to take it. You were told to take it.
Yeah, I'm not real good with direct orders, but on a whole nother note,
but it was a command.
I
mean, I'm sorry, they told you. I mean, they couldn't have been clearer about it.
Yeah, it was pretty clear. Did you take it?
Of course not.
Yeah, no, it wasn't ready.
Fox was mandated. So he probably got some type of exemption.
He also has a studio in his house in Maine.
And I didn't
like
feel
Ben
safe.
Shapiro in Florida.
But they told you you were safe.
I know what they said. I know what they said, and I heard them. I heard them loud and clear. But it's not their decision. There's no repercussions if they're wrong. But I get all the repercussions if they're wrong.
Was it a tough call for you?
No, it wasn't a tough call. I wanted it to be an example for my kids. Really make sure they didn't take it either. Show them that I wanted to stand on my convictions and that I was willing, to lose $9 million and more, because we've probably lost more, since then.
The idea is that people who stand on their convictions are heroes. They're brave. They have principles. They're the people we look to for inspiration. But in this case, with this decision and these principles, you were not hailed as a hero.
No.
You were attacked.
So why won't you get the vaccine, man? Hey, look, man, I'd just rather be myself than take that vaccine like you other 3 billion bozos.
I never told anyone not to get vaccinated publicly. That was never my message to the world. I didn't even want people to know whether I got vaccinated or not. I was pretty upset that even came out, because I was just gonna quietly, just not take it and deal with the consequences as they came.
Do you know anyone who was injured by the vaccine?
I do. And they suffer every day, and it's hard to watch. Suffering in silence is not the answer all the time. You know, sometimes you gotta let people know what's going on so you can actually move the needle. Choose to be vocal.
Get it? Move the needle.
If it's true, why can't I say it?
Well, you can't say it because it is true.
There it is. Now that's the problem with the world today.
There's no penalty for lying. No one's ever punished for lying. It's only telling the truth that gets you in trouble.
Ain't that something?
That's true.
Yeah, that is.
So you see all of this, and then HuffPost says, Ice Cube ripped for anti-vaccine ride-along interview with Tucker Carlson.
Which is not what it was. He said, like, I didn't tell anyone that they couldn't get it. I said that it wasn't for me. Also, I actually kind of disagree with him. It's like his idea that people who stand in their convictions are heroes. I think they're remembered as heroes, but a lot of the times they are hated early on for standing on your convictions. So they're just people these days, they want to be seen as the hero for standing on their convictions now, and usually it has to be history that bears that out for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you were one of the people that was like, no, that was vocally like, no, I'm not getting a vaccine and stuff, and we're saying that kind of stuff on the internet, you were taking a lot of heat. So,
and I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, if you feel like this is dangerous, telling other people not to get it. There were plenty of people preaching to everyone that they had to get it, or they were a bad person, or they were essentially holding a gun to the head of their immunocompromised grandmother.
Yep.
Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it if Ice Cube were to tell other people not to get it, but again, he was just saying this was his private stance,
he never
and it
wanted
isn't
to come
any of anyone else's business what decision you made.
Yep.
And you don't have a choice anymore about picking sides, because, like, look, ever since he's been mildly speaking out, The View won't have him on. He mentions that The View, they won't have him on.
The production team told him that The View hosts just found him so abhorrent, despite him being on The View in the past, that he couldn't make an appearance on the show.
Yeah.
And Oprah also refused to speak to him on camera.
He points out the hypocrisy of the world he lives in right there, because they point out that Adam Silver, who runs the NBA, who parrots a lot of the same neoliberal talking points that everybody talks about, that everybody discusses, has worked very hard as a businessman, because the business always comes first, to crush Ice Cube's big three basketball company, right? So at the end of the day, all the virtue signaling doesn't matter, because it always ends up coming back to the bottom line for them. They can virtue signal because it does good for them with their stock price, like with with investors and people who are big in the. Is the NBA a nonprofit? Is a nonprofit just like the Major League Baseball?
Don't know.
Like, it's good for their image to promote those ideas, but it's not good for revenue down the line, right? Do you remember who was the coach in the NBA who basically admitted when they asked him about the Uyghur Muslims, and he's just like, yeah, nobody cares about them? That happened. I think at one point I said it was Mark Cuban. It wasn't Mark Cuban.
No.
It was somebody else.
It sounds callous, but it's true.
But he was. I'm saying, like, that he would never say that publicly. He got caught saying that. Or no. He did. He made that statement, but nobody cared because the media is not going to report on it, right? Because they're going to say what's happening. We don't know what's happening to them. Look, a lot of these things that he points out are it proves that how far the Overton window has shifted. All his points, and I do encourage everyone to watch part 1 and part 2 of this interview. They're so reasonable. Like, all his points are so unbelievably reasonable. Like, there's nothing abhorrent about anything he says here. But then you get to look at some of these things.
It was to the point where I almost found the interview boring.
I love, like, every time he gives an answer and Tucker just beams at him. It's just, it's very, very normal.
One of Tucker's questions was literally, do you get up day to day and just think, you hate people for their skin color? Like,
as if anybody in the world is going to be like, well, yes, actually, that's exactly what happens.
You should have been like, yeah. Like, just straight faced it.
Yeah, I don't think Tucker was prepared for that.
And then, of course, a lot of the Twitter response to this has been people calling Tucker a white supremacist and an alt-right Yahtzee. As they're wont to do, as they love to do to someone like that.
Tristan Tate responded and said, watch, Ice Cube is real as F. Thanks, Tristan.
But
thanks, Tristan.
Like he does draw attention. Like, look, he says my views on cops haven't changed that much. I think that they, at the end of the day, they have a combative us first them mentality because their goal is to get home at night to their families, and that a lot of times that means that people's rights get trampled on. Now that's still a very like cogent and well thought out response, but it's not all that different from F the police 20 years ago. It's just phrase 30. Oh my gosh, it has been 30 years, hasn't it? It's like those memes. It says, I hate it when somebody says the year 2000 as if it wasn't like they think it's like 5 years ago, but it's not. It's a long time ago.
It was also funny when he said that after he spoke to Trump, the Biden administration promised that they would make good on whatever reforms that he had in mind, and he had this contact in the Biden administration that no longer works in the administration, that kind of just, he said, took his temperature, and it was just like completely patronizing, they talked to him just to make him feel like he was validated.
And even before that, they were in administration. When he talked to Trump, and they were talking about the Platinum Plan or whatever it was called, and then he also reached out to Biden's campaign at the time, and they said, talk to us when we're in office. Like, they completely dismissed him. Because that's what a lot of these establishment organizations and these establishment people are. They're here to make it sound good, make it seem like they're good people, and behind the scenes they're a lot more cutthroat and they're a lot more awful than the people that they claim to be the bad people. And that's kind of like an amalgamation of all the things wrong with culture. All get kind of trapped into something like this because there was nothing controversial about this interview at all. One of the things I really liked about it is I believe that Ice Cube, he thinks before he speaks in a very measured tone. He doesn't come off as reactionary in any way, shape, or form. He talks about how an insurance company dropped him because of his beliefs. That's crazy. Like,
wait, was it like through his company?
Like he doesn't elaborate on what it was, but he says an insurance company dropped me.
And the $9 million that he was talking about was a movie that he was dropped from for not getting the vax, right? Yeah.
Like it was a requirement. Like if you're going to do this movie, him and Jack Black would have all the cast, all the crew would have had to have gotten it. And that's even coming up in the discussions with the writers and the actors strike right now. Some people are pointing out, they're like, look, that we didn't like the authoritarian measures that were taken during this, and everyone, hindsight is 20/20 for everyone, but he didn't have a choice. He wasn't given a choice, and he, like they said, he didn't try to make this public. Other people made it public in an effort to smear him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it bothers me, man, because it shouldn't require Tucker Carlson, who is a insanely political figure, to have these things said.
You are ghettoized once the only interview you can get is Tucker Carlson.
Well, he went on Rogan too.
Explicitly partisan commentators.
He went on Rogan, and Rogan is a lot more. Rogan reaches across the aisle a lot more.
I'd be way more interested to see Ice Cube go on The View than this interview. I want to see the conflict.
It would end up getting cut. It would end up on the cutting room floor.
Exactly.
The most interesting parts would never make it to air because they wouldn't allow him to voice his opinions on there, lest people actually get some information that takes them out of their echo chamber.
I'd much rather watch 10 minutes of him having a respectful disagreement with people on The View than 20 minutes of him peacefully agreeing with Tucker. Like it wasn't as interesting, and like when you ghettoize people, it becomes that way. Like the world is just becoming more boring.
It's happening with musicians now too. Like the dude from Mumford & Sons who reads a book by Andy No and now can't be in a band because he read a book. We live in the most insane.
We don't even know if he read it. You just bought it.
Oh, he's one of those horrible people that does the thing where they take the picture with the book on their lap and they're like, how I'm spending my Saturday, but they don't actually read the book.
Curled up.
Yeah, that's the worst. Like that.
Curled
that's
up
why
with a good book.
That's why you get kicked out of the band. As far as I'm concerned, that's worse.
Yep.
That's worse than reading a book that's bad, is pretending to read a book.
You can read Mein Kampf, but if you curl up with it, you're done. You're done.
Just like, hey, like, just read it. Don't tell us about
That's right.
reading
Don't
it,
curl
right?
up with it.
Like, or you don't get to post that picture until you can write a thesis on the book.
Yeah, you're not going to ooh-woo you.
I'm curled up with a good book on a rainy day.
You're not going to
and it's
ooh-woo your way
Mein
through
Kampf.
capital. Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing is like, I actually I posted a picture on my story once, and like James Lynn in Cynical Theories was in the background, and somebody actually pointed it out. They're like, "Why are you reading that?" And I'm like the
no
fact
one
that
should be paying that close attention to what you post.
Exactly, like
on
that's
Instagram stories.
The correct answer is, does it bother you? And if they say yes, then you say that's why.
Exactly, right?
Like the whole thing.
But it is like this means that he's now ghettoized, right? He has to stay in this sphere because the rest of the people, like, you hope that that's not what happens.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if like your serious radio rap shows or rap stations are going to stay away from Ice Cube. I don't think that's happening. I don't know for sure.
I'm sure Charlemagne will still have him. I bet you Charlemagne still has him.
I don't know. Maybe
Charlemagne is the worst, but he said that the rap community is in a way immune from a lot of the politicization because just in the culture of their industry, they have to push boundaries.
But the music will be fine. But when he's doing movies and stuff like that, there's definitely people that aren't going to have him on. They're not going to have him on Good Morning America, I bet. Like,
do you think he was subtly making a reference to Kanye when he said that about the rap community?
Could be.
We're prone to pushing boundaries and saying what we're not supposed to say.
Well, I mean, the idea that there was conflict between Ice Cube and Jewish people, that goes back to the 90s.
He's a Farrakhan guy, I believe. Ice Cube was at a certain point.
See, Tucker asked questions about that.
Yeah, I believe. I don't quote me on that, but if I remember correctly,
dude, look, if you listen to
they were all
Public
Farrakhan.
Enemy, they were big Farrakhan fans. Like, even it's hilarious to me. Like, Anthrax did Bring the Noise, and there's a line that says, Farrakhan's a prophet that I think you ought to listen to. And Chuck D says it. And I'm like, Farrakhan has really nasty things to say about Jewish people. And you got Anthrax, which, I mean, there's multiple Jewish people in Anthrax, if I understand correctly.
I think they just didn't know back then.
I'm pretty confident most Jewish people knew that Farrakhan considered them beneath human beings. But I mean, I can't speak for them individually, but it wasn't a secret that Farrakhan didn't like Jewish people. And Anthrax did Bring the Noise with Public Enemy, and Public Enemy said, Farrakhan's a prophet that I think you ought to listen to.
See, the real world is stranger.
The early Kanye.
Super chat from Get123. Can't watch live today, but looking forward to listening tomorrow morning at work. Also, not a fan of Tucker Carlson, but anyone freaking out over Ice Cube going for a drive with him should get over themselves.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed. Look, I like that Tucker's having fun. He looks like he's enjoying his life post Fox News. Like, what he needs to do, it's like, where in the world is Tucker Carlson? Where he just goes around and interviews people that are blacklisted from various places.
It's like when girls post their post breakup glow up.
Yes.
Their before and afters.
Tucker's glowing up right now.
Tucker's having a post Fox News glow up.
It's amazing. Like, I'm completely okay with that.
Good for Tucker.
I think that Tucker will end up these shows will end up. I would like him to do more more regular stories though. Like, it doesn't always just have to be the interviews. Like, I would like to see him cover more stuff apart from just the interviews like this. Like, of course, also we could get Ice Cube on Alex Jones. Maybe we'll get that next. Maybe he'll do Alex Jones in a GIMP mask.
In the GIMP, only if it's in the GIMP mask.
That would be great, right? Or we could get, or how about Ice Cube, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, and Tucker Carlson all do a show together, and the world explodes. That would be a fantastic. Actually, that'd be really hard to follow because Alex would be Alex. He'd be just nuts. Tucker would be just.
I don't think anyone can upstage Alex Jones.
No, you can't wrangle Alex Jones and bring him in. But all I'm pointing out is guys, I encourage everyone, go watch this interview, and it should worry you why such very, very tame and tepid discourse is now considered dangerous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Super Chats, shall we?
The Last of My Kind said pet rock movie starring Jim Carrey. He's got range.
He could do that. I would watch that. Jim Carrey's like getting closer and closer to retirement these days. He's not going to be able to.
That would need to be a huge payday for him. Disco Jensen said AI-assisted written shows are going to replace all the writers on strike because they didn't learn the tools to keep their jobs.
It's their own fault. It's their own fault for not knowing how to write or not know how to write without being inflammatory towards half the country and write tired tropes constantly.
You know, like I said, I'm not super sympathetic to their plight, but I mean, when I saw Shameless and they had Antifa cast as good guys, that was kind of like, all right, I'm over all of the stuff that Hollywood produces.
And it's
I started watching The Bear yesterday. Have you seen any of that?
No, but I know a lot of people like it.
The
Cocaine Bear?
No,
that's amazing.
It's The Bear. It's just like they're running a restaurant, and it's extremely stressful to watch people talking over each other the entire time, and the phone ringing, and the pots boiling over. But I think in the first episode, one of the characters goes out to a bunch of people in the street and yells at them and says, like, all of you 4chan, incel, QAnon, whatever. Like, it was like a string of words that you never want to hear in a TV show. Plus the fact that they acknowledged that COVID happened, which I guess you have to if you're making a show about a restaurant business. It was just a little bit.
I say nay. You don't have
taking
to.
me out of the story. But it was good. First like few episodes that I watched.
I hate it when shows and movies acknowledge COVID. I'm here to not acknowledge COVID.
KPTMRVL. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Captain Marvel?
Is
with
it
a K?
Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel with a K?
Phil, Sharon is the best effing song that's ever been made.
Thank you very much. It's Chiron.
Chiron, sorry.
That's ever been made.
Ever been made.
I appreciate the kudos, though. Thank you.
No Tax Good Tax said, Phil, what is your OP on Barbie? Bad, based, accidentally based, or it's not that deep?
To be honest with you, I really haven't. I have no take on Barbie. I don't really care.
So you wanted to talk about Barbie, but you don't have a take?
Yeah, there was just someone in the chat who was complaining.
He was being an edgelord.
Yeah, like the chat was like, "Oh, we're sick and tired of talking about Barbie." I was like, "Now I really want to talk about Barbie."
You're just being a contrarian.
It's very American for somebody to say, "Don't do that," and be like, "I think I'm going to do that."
It's
now.
extremely Philibonti. I don't know if it's American or not, but it's definitely Philibonti.
The more people say they don't want us to cover something, the more I'm like, maybe we should cover it.
Yeah, we should definitely do it. But yeah, I don't really have a take. I mean, it's a movie. It's gonna be, a memory in a couple of weeks. I don't really care.
Margot Robbie, not mid.
She's pretty. Yeah. I mean, it's generated a whole lot of conversations, and I'm not quite sure why. So
a lot of conversations.
That's my take on Barbie. I really don't have much of a take.
There you go.
Crispy Leg Transport LLC said, Phil, have you worked 62J or 12B?
I don't know what those things are.
I don't know what that means either.
Do one more.
T squared 09 said, please use Ian's impersonation of Roberto Jr. from IRL last night. It was perfect for a crisis party.
I'm going to then request, I humbly request your financial assistance. I need somebody to go and clip that for me.
Yeah.
Send it to me on
or at least
Instagram
send him the timestamp.
No. You're going to have to.
No, you're going to have to do the work.
Yeah, you're going to have to. I will do it, but I will incorporate it. If somebody can give me the clipped version of that, send it to me either on Instagram or on Twitter.
I was so close the other day to volunteering to. I was listening to a radio show, and the host said that he needed someone to do his bidding for a day. And he needed someone to go to the mustard mobile and get him mustard flavored Skittles that are only going to be available for a day in DC.
And Mary's like, sign me up.
And I was like, sign me up. This has got Mary written all over it. But unfortunately, I didn't get the
Now
gig.
I can really picture myself. Okay, when I was back in Minnesota, I got a cheeseburger with green olives on them, which is something that I used to make on my own. But I'd never seen it at a restaurant. I love green olives. But we were talking about weird, what was the Reese's with
With potato chips.
Now I want the Skittles, and I want mustard Skittles to put on my burger.
Mustard Skittles just sounds disgusting.
Disgusting.
I guess that's the point. Thomas
one more.
said, "Life isn't a gift if it comes with obligations."
Life's a gift either way. I don't know if that's in relation.
You sound bitter.
I don't know if that's in relation to the story about Selena Gomez, or if that's in relation to our discussion about whether being born is something that people say they didn't have a choice in.
Yeah.
Gratitude is a beautiful thing, and being able to be grateful for things, even when life isn't going your way or going the best that it could possibly go, is something that I recommend everyone tries to manifest in some way. I don't know if manifest is the right word, but I find that being grateful is one thing when you have a lot of blessings going on, but being grateful when life isn't going your way and learning that that's an actual thing you can do. It's kind of like the less indulgent version. Have you ever seen that meme that says, like, sometimes I forget that as an adult I can just go buy a birthday cake for myself no matter what day it is? Like, you gotta work on that sometimes. Learn to.
Also, I don't think that phrase makes any sense. Like, if you were gifted like a historical artifact and the one expectation is that you don't destroy it, that's an obligation, right?
Yeah.
Still a gift.
All right, let's move on, shall we? So, ladies and gentlemen, Ariana Grande is officially a home wrecker. She has a castmate on Wicked named Ethan Slater, who just a couple of years ago married his high school sweetheart. They squirted out a kid, and now
goodness.
and now
Why do you have to put it like that?
Yes. So they had a kid, and now he's left his wife for Ariana Grande.
Yep. It's like they're so disgusting that they deserve each other at this point. So Ariana Grande's boyfriend, Ethan Slater, has now officially filed for divorce from his wife, his now estranged wife, as of yesterday. And I just can't respect someone who preaches feminism and then goes on to be a husband stealer.
Yeah.
And all of her fans are like having a mental crisis about this because she obviously did something abhorrent, but they have to defend her no matter what because they're insane. And now Ethan Slater's wife, Lily J, has gone to the press officially and said, Ariana is the story, really. She's not a girl's girl. My family has just been collateral damage.
Yeah.
So she got married to Ethan Slater in 2018. They were high school sweethearts together for over a decade, had their baby only in August last year. And he went off to film Wicked in London with Ariana Grande. And I've heard that they didn't even try to keep their relationship secret on set. This quote from the inside source says, Ariana and Ethan weren't careful. They would hold hands on set between takes. They were sloppy and not hiding it. They're not even ashamed.
You know what this is? Like, as much as I said earlier, I was like, look, this is a win for everyone because all of the topics that end up getting covered on shows like this end up being divisive on some lines. Is it divisive on racial lines? Is it divisive on gender lines? Everyone's the bad guy in this story. You know what it reminds me of is Chris Tyson.
Brings everyone together when two people, a man and a woman, are pieces of shit.
It reminds me of Chris Tyson.
We can all agree on that.
Chris Tyson in the story also reminds me of Chris Tyson, who basically like gets married, has a kid, and then says, "Psych, I'm actually a woman." And now my child's life is going to be different forever because I have to indulge my every whim. I have to be selfish, which is what this gentleman is doing.
Yeah, that gave like. I think he probably had like a sidekick complex toward Mr. Beast.
Yeah. Where
he felt like he couldn't be the center of attention. And the obvious route in 2023 to be the center of attention is to come out as trans. But in this case, Ariana Grande also left her husband, Dalton Gomez, to be with Ethan Slater. And they're claiming that they were both single at the time they got together, but this is obviously a rebound. And it's just so disgusting that you would sacrifice a relationship of over 10 years with your wife who you have a child with to be in a 2-month fling with a pop star.
Who's going to leave you?
You're disgusting.
She's going to leave him. By the way, everyone, look, he does in fact look like weird Tom Holland if he had Mark Zuckerberg's eyes.
That's him with his estranged wife in that picture.
Yep.
Who apparently was much taller than him.
With the heels on, she's taller than him there, it looks like.
It makes sense that he played SpongeBob.
Yeah, yep. Like
you left your husband to be with a guy that played SpongeBob on Broadway. You're a clown. Like, what is wrong with you? You're sick in the head. And also, Dalton Gomez, her ex-husband, Ariana Grande's ex-husband, said that he is devastated by the news and a separation is not what he wanted. He wanted the fairy tale happy ending, and it's not looking that way. And ever since they started having issues, he wanted to work out. He wanted to find reconciliation. And even now, he still wants their relationship to work out, despite some other reports that are dubious that he's dating again. And I think that her husband is religious as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably
Yeah.
why he feels more strongly about keeping the marriage together. But yeah.
It's just like these are those cases where like everyone can understand like Mary's going to have a problem with this. In the past we talk a lot about these types of things, but even I'm just like, really, dude?
I have like
a kid a year ago. You've been together. Like these are just horrible.
Everyone knows
people.
like Mary is the moralist who thinks that marriage is insoluble and a sacrament. But even people who are like secular and don't think of marriage that way are still rightfully disgusted by this display. Like, at least if you're going to have an affair, then hide it. Have the courtesy to the world to hide your disgusting behavior.
Well,
obviously, don't cheat on your spouse in the first place.
Don't get married if you're not going to take it seriously.
Of course, yeah, but at least if you don't care about that and you want to cheat anyway, then have the courtesy to keep it to yourself instead of displaying it on a world stage and humiliating your spouse and your child who's also roped into this.
Say what you want about Tom Hanks. He may be he may drink the blood of children for all we know, but he's been married for 30 years.
This is an exception, not a rule in Hollywood. And the divorce rate is skyrocketing for normal people as well, but in Hollywood it's like you're a unicorn if you stay married.
On
Pierce
television,
Brosnan's like the only guy in Hollywood that stayed married.
There's
when it comes to movie stars, though, when it comes to A-listers,
that's like the Chris
You'll
O'Donnell.
find maybe a handful of them that haven't been divorced.
It's really funny. Chris O'Donnell, actually, that's why he left. Like when he was getting big, like around the time Batman Forever came out, or Batman and Robin, like he said he made the active choice to no longer go after like those big budget roles, to be like an A-list celebrity because he got married. He wanted to have time for his family. So he went to TV where, he's not going to be jetting off to another country every few months to film a movie. So he got a job on like a procedural where he makes a lot of money. He works long hours, but they all live in the same place. At the end of the day, he goes home at night to his wife and his kids.
Whereas the lifestyle of pop stars or A-lists movie stars is that you're paid to essentially take like tropical vacations and go to summer camp with other adults where you're drinking and doing sex scenes with someone other than your spouse. It's just not conducive to having a lasting relationship with anyone.
And by the way, guys, like if you want a little bit of an upside to this, I can search for a small upside to this.
Okay.
If this guy can pull Ariana Grande, all I'm saying is go shoot your shot.
Yeah.
Go shoot your shot.
What does she see in him? Other than that she can't be single for more than 2 months.
He sees a lot in her because he has enormous bug eyes. But look, I'm being a
Don't hate on the bug eyes.
I'm joking here. But the point is, guys, like they're bad people. They're bad people, and you shouldn't celebrate bad people. And if me, who tends to be more neutral in a lot of the, like Mary's the moral one, I'm the one who always like do what you want as long as nobody else is getting hurt. People are getting hurt here.
Yeah,
You're a bad person.
The fan base for Ariana Grande was so ready to shit on her ex-husband for their divorce. They had their pitchforks out. They were ready to give him the Jonah Hill treatment because one report said that he, found issues with her having such a demanding schedule where she had to be out of the country and they didn't have time together, which is a normal expectation for any marriage.
Yeah.
But like they wanted the narrative that she's just this powerful girl boss feminist and he's threatened by her success and he's a misogynist, when the reality is that she's cheating on him.
Yep.
So there's really no way to defend this.
It's depressing that it's the type of thing that has to be defended by some people based on the lines of like what celebrity they support or like Like, that's just embarrassing. It's like Taylor Swift fans who will defend her no matter what. You know, granted, we don't know the ins and outs of what happened in those relationships, but it's not like the info. Let's be honest. If the information comes out that Taylor Swift just like cheated on John Mayer with 10 dudes at the same time, it's not like Taylor Swift fans would say she's the problem. They would still find him to be the problem because they're not actually devoted to her happiness. They're devoted to her as like a weird messianic figure to them. Like they don't actually want her to be in a relationship. They want her to be in a relationship with them.
Yeah.
They want Ariana Grande to be in a relationship with them. So who cares if she cheats on her husband with the bug-eyed dude from SpongeBob SquarePants the musical? Like
you're such a loser. How do you look yourself in the mirror? How do you sleep at night? You left your husband for the guy that played SpongeBob in a musical?
Like she didn't think that through in her head like a little bit. She's just like maybe like she's like professional athlete, investment banker, SpongeBob SquarePants the musical lead.
I guess she's his beard now.
It's just shocking to me that no matter. I will say there's another upside that like this is a very like it's such a very stereotypically Hollywood story that it's almost inspiring. Like no matter how much bad stuff is going on in the world, no matter how much it sucks that Tucker Carlson or that Ice Cube has been ghettoized into doing interviews with Tucker Carlson because everyone's so divided. Celebrities are still scumbags no matter what, right?
Well, like the best argument to abolish no-fault divorce is just to tell the people who don't care about the fidelity and insolubility of marriage, don't get married at all.
Yeah.
If you don't care about those values, then you don't need to engage in this cultural institution.
Why do you think that is, that people who don't seem to... It's just because the actual values of marriage have become so misrepresented now? Or watered down?
Well, I mean, society's really demonized marriage a lot. Yeah. You know, the idea that, you know, through feminist kind of perspectives, the idea that women should stay home, or the idea that a woman would find happiness staying home and raising a family and being a homemaker, that's become very foreign to a lot of young people. And
it's looked down upon.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that feminists have given to women is that you should not want to be a woman. You should want to be one of the 1% of men that have ever existed that are in massive positions of power. Like like women shouldn't want to be homemakers. They should want, and it's not even good enough to want to be men. You have to be a boss. It's not, not be a man, do a man's job and go work in
construction,
waste management. Yeah. It's go be the boss girl. But that's such a minority of men, never mind human beings, but men. So and you get society just constantly, ever since Murphy Brown, just shoving this down people's throats in the 80s, which is now 30 years ago.
Can you explain this to me?
Okay, so Murphy Brown was a television show in the 80s, and she was kind of the first girl boss. She
Candace Bergen.
Candace Bergen. She had a job. She was the boss there, and she had a kid. This is the kind of...
You're telling me Barbie wasn't the first girl boss? This is news
I don't know that Barbie ever had a kid.
This is a real life... I mean, not a real life, but it's showing a supposedly plausible real world example
scenario. It was I think it was a sitcom, right? It wasn't a drama.
It was a sitcom.
It was a sitcom, and it was one of the first ones that you saw a woman in positions of power. I mean, it was Sex and the City, like 10 years before Sex and the City, and with less sex. But that kind
and thank goodness for that.
Yeah, but that perspective has been the general narrative coming out of Hollywood for the better part of the past 30 years, probably all of the past 30 years. And I think that that's starting to have, or that has had a real impact on the attitudes towards marriage that people have. And then you throw in the fact that, people are more open to talking about abuse in relationships, and people are more open to talking about divorce, and there's the no-fault divorce and stuff like that. So
I've been not in the last week, but I was rewatching the show Damages with Glenn Close, and that's another example. It was about 2007 that came out, so not not an 80s show.
Yeah.
But this is a show about a high-powered lawyer who's got a kid, but her relationship with the kid is strained, and like it shows that having it all is not necessarily all it's cracked up to be in it.
Yeah.
Because she's an extremely unlikable character. She's the main character, but my goodness, is she like you're supposed to marvel at how good she is at her job, not like her for who she is as a person, right? And as much as that still felt like feminist propaganda, because in a lot of ways they can never just show the character as doing these things without taking a nod to like, look at how good I am at this. The men don't want me to succeed. And in this show, it ends up becoming more of a murder mystery. But in the show, she's not necessarily a likable character. She doesn't have a great relationship with her son. Her relationship with her partner, the guy, is like, it's a little bit more stable than it probably would have been done today. And now all of these shows, compounded over the last 30 years, coming together to send the wrong message to men and women in society today.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just hope people don't look at this story, especially young girls that pay attention to Ariana Grande, and just become so black-pilled about their possibility for finding a spouse. Like this one comment said, I can't imagine being together with a man for more than 10 years, and that's the empathy he has toward you and your feelings. I'm flabbergasted.
Wait, what? Oh,
like
because
that he would.
Yeah.
She also, the wife says she was totally blindsided by the news, and he only told her like a couple of days before the media got access to this information.
He's an awful person. He is a genuinely awful person.
Maybe this is a PSA not to date guys who are into musical theater.
Okay, that's perfect. All right, we got some super chats there. What better way to end that segment, Mary?
Corey Anderson said, I wish YouTube was around when I was a kid. You can watch shows and say hi to rock stars and hot ladies and Brett. Jonathan Davis would have hated me.
Well, hello.
Oh, maybe.
Hi.
Maybe you're better off because YouTube wasn't around when you were a kid.
Yes.
JSpot51 said, vaccine exemption form on religious grounds.
Oh, JSpot51. So that was like, it was an exemption. But why would Phil have had to... Is that what he was talking about with that J5, the previous
I don't know.
message?
Shane H. Wilder said the contrast of Ice Cube versus Snoop and Dre from yesterday are night and day.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Their mindsets are very, very different, even though they've all become very, very successful in that same industry. Mm-hmm. I do wonder sometimes what like Tupac and Biggie would be doing in the world that we're living in now. I actually think Tupac would probably be the more eloquent storyteller given the world we live in today. But even then, I think it would still ring like propaganda in a way that it wouldn't have if the world hadn't changed so much since 2016.
Wyatt Coldenberg said, I almost always read books I disagree with. I find people who only read books they agree with live in an echo chamber and are not too bright.
Well, the real question is, Wyatt, do you take a picture of yourself cozied up with the book? Because that's what you got to make sure you stop. You just shouldn't take the picture cozied up with the book.
Specifically Mein Kampf. Don't do that.
Definitely don't do that one.
Tom Bombarder said, your schism, my distress, my failure is my success. Squeezed out, kept me down. What goes around comes around. I can't wait you out. Patience is my virtue. Best Anthrax lyrics from Room for One More.
Nice.
There you go.
Anthrax.
Shane H. Wilder said, I may be disgusted with her, but I'm more disgusted with him. You're married. That means something. He's pathetic.
They were both married.
Well, they were both married, but he had a kid, which adds more gravity to
the funny thing,
the situation.
There was a time when this was actually frowned upon in Hollywood. And I'll give you an example. Not frowned upon, but at least behind the scenes. So Eddie Cibrian was an actor who he was married to Leanne Rimes. And now, I don't remember, now you'll have to forgive me because this is literally such an old story that I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember if it was Leanne Rimes that he ended up with or Leanne Rimes that he left, but the idea was like they were both married and then they both cheated on their spouses with each other and then got together.
Yeah.
And like he lost a job on some show because he would like brag about it openly and the people on the show were like, well, that's disgusting. We don't really want to work with him.
Need more of that in society. The more we have society policing society, the better.
There you go.
Because it keeps the government out of it.
Until then,
Exactly.
let's have the police society.
Mary's like, so how about we get a morality police to come in and tell you whether you're raise their taxes. Every time you cheat, you pay a little bit more in taxes.
Mary wants a theocracy.
She does. All right, guys, before we go, would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? We got one more super chat there from High Voltage 75.
It legit annoys me when I see canceled spelled with one L. Also, the way some people pronounce Nevada and Oregon. Did I say it right?
Nevada and
I say Nevada.
Oregon.
Nevada and Oregon.
I have ended the poll, ladies and gentlemen. I did not even forget today. With 66%, they say it is spelled canceled with 2 L's.
It's definitely 2 L's.
Apparently, from what somebody said to me, canceled with 2 L's is the British spelling. Canceled with 1 L is the American spelling. I can't say that for sure. All I know is when I look up stuff, you get articles that say both. So
it's definitely 2.
No. Both are technically listed as correct. So you can
technically
you are allowed to say it either way. But I was just wondering whether it was going to be, what people were going to say. So I thought that was a good poll for today. All right, guys. Phil, would you let everyone know where they can find you?
I am Phil That Remains on Twitter. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can find us on Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, all those places.
All right. Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on Twitter. That is also Mary Archived.
And one more from Tom Bombadurp there.
He said taxes for cheating, and if one partner cuts off sexual access, increase taxes for frigid or disinterested wives. But how would you know?
You're filing jointly. How can that happen? He's going to end up paying the price anyways. What if she's not working? That's a problem. All right, guys. Again, thank you for joining us today. If you'd like to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I refuse to call it X, at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. This show is here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you'd like to listen to the audio version of this podcast, which I know some of you do, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. And if you'd like to follow the show on social media, we are on Twitter /X at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.
Later. Telling you right now, Ethan Slater did nothing wrong.